Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. Today we are welcomed with Big Jon Crowley. How we doing, man?
I'm doing good. Had a long day today. It was hot out there, and I've been sweating and running around a boatyard all day.
As a guy who does lawn care, I understand what it's like being outside in the heat all day, so I
Oh,
respect it. Before we dive into, your career, why you love professional wrestling, all those fun things that we're going to talk about, would you like to shout out your social medias and let the fans know where they can find you if they already don't know where to find you?
yeah, absolutely. So I basically my main two is just Instagram, uh,
Okay.
at Big Jon Crowley. I think there's an underscore. I had to change it. I no longer have just plain Big Jon Crowley, so it's like Big J. It'll pop up.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, because the other one's been deleted.
Gotcha.
And again, Big Jon Crowley on YouTube. Also, I have my YouTube channel that I post my matches and stuff too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Easy. I like it. Um,
Hmm.
we are the I Love Wrestling podcast here, so I always start with my first and kind of very simple question. We all have a time when we was younger or whenever where we found wrestling. So when did you find it, and what about this crazy sport made you fall in love with it?
Oh man, so early. Probably, I mean, my earliest memories were with me and my two brothers wrestling around in our little living room in our trailer park home. Uh, watching Raw and stuff with
Okay,
my older brother jumping off the top of a couch down onto me and my younger brother and completely decimating us.
okay,
So that's probably my earliest memory watching. I couldn't tell you who we were watching, probably Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, it was about early 90s, so Warrior, Piper, Hogan, all those guys.
okay.
uh, Yokozuna, Undertaker was a really big. uh he had just made his debut. I want to say, what was it, the 90s Survivor Series?
Something like that. Yeah, 90 or 91. I can't remember
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
So I was two or three or something like that.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, early, very early.
So growing up, it was just always in the household. I'm guessing having brothers,
Yeah,
it's
my
something
mom
that you
didn't
guys
care.
always watch.
Yeah, mom didn't care for it. My dad, though, he would bring us to Blockbuster. That was the our favorite thing to do, was go rent the pay-per-views from Blockbuster.
Okay.
Because yeah, I never really remember having Raw on during like any days or anything. It was always my biggest memories were from having the tapes and putting those in as like a 5-year-old and wanted to watch Undertaker versus Undertaker, Taker versus Yokozuna, Hulk Hogan, giving Andre the body slam. It was
Yeah.
all a lot of early stuff. Mr. Perfect, I remember so much. So I actually do a couple things every now and then from Perfect in the ring. So I draw a lot of influence from old school wrestling, Flair, Arn Anderson, even the smaller guys too. I'm only 5'11", uh, so me growing up seeing these guys that were larger than life, because I've always gravitated towards the powerhouses and everything, even though I was smaller. So I had to get strong. I had to get bigger. Height again being a issue. I mean, after high school, I grew bigger, eating and everything like that. So, uh, yeah, it was always around somehow.
Got you. I know you mentioned a couple, but who were like your favorites growing up? If you had to pick a couple, who just stood
Yeah,
out above the rest?
I would have to say Mr. Perfect, probably number one. Just I loved Kurt Hennig's charisma. I mean, he was literally perfect in the ring
Yes.
every time. You never saw him make a mistake. And if he did, it was rare.
Yes,
Even the
sir.
pencil flip or the gum spit and hit in the bottle or his towel coming, throwing it over his shoulder. Mr. Perfect stands out probably the most. Uh, Bret Hart, every time you watch, I mean, I don't think he gets brought up a lot, obviously, but I take influence from that just in terms of the physicality from when he's in there. You notice like not nobody hits the buckles like he would hit a buckle. And so whenever I'm getting Irish whip to a corner or anything like that, if I had to take it with my back or the front, like I'm hitting it. I'm utilizing the ring and I'm doing what I need to, just like what I saw, you know? So, but I don't think not too much from Brett a lot. I don't go back and watch him. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. Uh, I saw you had, like you said, you were interviewing Torero. He said Dean Malenko, Ray, Mysterio. You know, I mean, it's foreshadowing, but growing up, my first opportunity to get trained was with Carlos at Galli. So
Okay.
we can talk about that a little later, but yeah. So those are probably my main influence: Jericho, Benoit, Malenko, Eddie, Mr. Perfect, Arn Anderson, big time. I use his spine buster to finish guys all the time. It's just I like the physical aspect. I like being rough and getting roughed up. You know, hit me, man.
Okay. I like that. Just because it rarely comes up, you mentioned Benoit. He's one of my absolute favorite in ring performers of all time.
Mhm.
Just somebody like growing up, the physicality, I think, of how he performed just drew me to him instantly. And he's not a very big guy at all. He was short, stocky, and very crisp in the ring.
Yeah,
Um, as somebody who's in the business, do you think it's okay to appreciate his body of work, even
yeah.
though he did whatever outside the ring?
Absolutely. I think, there's plenty of monsters out there. People still appreciate their work. Diddy's in jail right now. People still listen and play his music. I can't tell you what movies I've seen, but I mean, recently his music are in these new movies still. You
Yes.
know, Chris Brown going around slapping women around. People still love him. So no matter what, like, no matter how big a monster you are, if you're an artist, people are still going to appreciate what you did somehow. And I mean, again, terrible, terrible
Yes.
things that those people did, especially Benoit with his family. But I mean, if you can't learn something from what he did in the ring, then I don't know what to tell you. You know,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
you want to get better. You go back and you watch these guys who look like they are taking a beating and giving that same intensity for giving the beating.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
growing up, did you like have the plan to say, "Hey, I'm gonna, graduate high school or whatever, and then go out and train," or was it
Yeah,
ever that was it?
that was my only ever like once I caught the wrestling bug
Okay.
for pro wrestling, like that was it. That was it for me. I was like, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be one. Whether I make it or not, like I'm going to do that. And throughout being a kid into high school, me and my friends doing backyard wrestling, building as legitimate of ring as we could in my buddy's backyard, 2 blocks away from my parents' house. We had a 16 by 16 foot all wood. We constructed it out of 2x4s, 8x8s for the posts, 2x4s for the frame. We got 16-foot planks, 2x10 planks that we used to go across the floor. Basically, we had this old tire shop down the road that we got tires. So we would lay one tire on the side and one up on the inside of it, and we had rows of that to put the planks on top of inside of the ring. Turnbuckles, everything, even our rope were the same type of rope that you would see in a match or a show that you would go to in an indie show. Like it was just cable wrapped in garden hose.
Okay.
So we did our due diligence and then we got I can't remember, but somehow we got a hold of a training video. It had early John Cena in it. I think Matt Hardy was in it, and a couple other unknowns at the time. Um, but they were legit doing basic training. They were teaching you how to do bumps, teaching you how to run the ropes, teaching you what a drop down is, that stuff. So we would watch this. It was 20 of us. We would watch this in my buddy's living room, and for like 20 minutes at a time, stop, go out and train and do the
Okay.
bumps and do the work and do the rope jumps and do all that. We were all athletic. We were all on the wrestling team. So we were all already knew, the cardio and the working out and the neck bridges and all that stuff. So we were already used to it. So I've pretty much been an athlete my whole life too. I've also been fortunate enough to have a trampoline in my yard for as long as I could remember. So I've also been, yeah, basically athletic my whole life, and been able to do flips and everything too, and translate that into the ring, and it all
Oh.
comes pretty easy.
How long did you do the backyard style wrestling before you transitioned and maybe tried to find a galley or something like
All,
that to train?
all of high school.
Okay.
So at least all 4 years of high school. I mean, before that too, like we were, middle school doing on the trampoline doing backyard stuff, but never shows. When we got to high school, we started actually doing shows and drawing 150 people to my buddy's backyard, and they would come watch. It was crazy. Like our almost, well, we can't say half the school, but we would have at least 100, 200 people in from school and their parents and whoever else they brought in our buddy's backyard watching us beat the living hell out of each other
Okay.
as professionally as we could.
I like it. What made you guys decide to maybe stop that and try to do it for real, or did it just
Well,
kind of
that was always the goal,
okay?
getting trained professionally. And then my best friend at the time, who was 2 blocks away with the ring, everything we built, his cousin just so happened to be dating an actual pro wrestler in the Chicago area. So he kind of cornered him at a family party one time. He was like, I have a group of friends. Would you be willing to train us? And he said, yeah. So he got him, his buddy, and another buddy, uh, Jesus Bryce or Bryce Benjamin. I don't know if you're familiar with his
Okay.
work.
Yeah.
Basically, I credit him with everything I know.
Okay.
And
And
yeah, we got very lucky that they said yes and they would come train us.
and did you train with just Bryce, and then eventually get into Galli, or was Bryce with Galli?
It was so it was Bryce, Tony Scarpone, and Robert Anthony, or yeah, Robert Anthony, who's
Okay.
Ego.
Yep.
Um, and at the time, our group, one of our buddies in the group, knew of this guy Carlos, who was running a boxing gym out of Villa Park.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly how it came about, but also Carlos was starting to dip his toe in promoting and doing lucha shows.
Gotcha.
But I think we were the first. We were on the we were the first. Like we were ground floor, getting in his place and taking pumps in a boxing ring that was this high off the ground, and we were bumping in the middle of this ring, basically hitting the ground every time, running or bumping, bump drills. I don't know who runs bump drills anymore, but we were bump, 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 chop your feet, bump. When I say front bump, things like that. And so it was rough go there at the beginning, but yeah, basically we started with Carlos in
How
'07.
long how long did you do your training before you actually did your first pro match?
'07 we started training.
Yep.
And I didn't actually get in a ring and make my first match until what? I didn't have my first actual match till 2011 with Carlos. in Villa Park for Galli Lucha. And there's a big gap. I would do random shows. I was, barely learning any from anybody. And then finally, um, right in 2010, I made the decision to go to VW and actually continue my training, more training, everything down there with Dinsmore.
Okay.
And so for 4 months, I went down there. And as I came back, uh, I hit up Carlos and the group, and they invited me back in. And yeah, the rest is history. Like I think went a solid 10 years with them as a heel with my buddy or with Mason Conrad. We were
Okay.
the Conrads at some point because I had started with just my real name and it wasn't really working. I had so yeah, so went down to OVW, got trained with Dinsmore, met a whole bunch of good guys, learned how I didn't want to be basically as a wrestler because I saw a lot of superstars and it's it gets real demoralizing when you see the shit side of wrestling and you just like I always knew like, I never wanted to be a guy that was going to just demoralize someone just because they could
Okay.
or knock them down a peg just because they could. And now that I'm in a kind of a vet stage of my life with wrestling, I try to stick to not talking down on anybody ever.
Yeah.
Even if people make mistakes.
It's the
But
way of life.
so from leaving OVW, I came back up to Chicago, started wrestling for Carlos, started tag teaming with Mason Conrad, and I became Marcus Conrad for
Okay.
about 10 years.
Okay.
Uh,
And
yeah.
when did you meet Mason?
Me and Mason and Joey Marks, we all went to school together. We were all a part of the group that went and got trained.
Okay. So
Yeah, so we were all backyarding in my buddy's house, and we were all training. So we were on the wrestling team together, all of us. So I've known them. I think I met Gary and Joe freshman year of high school.
okay.
So 2004.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Um, what made you guys just decide, hey, it's time to like let's start a tag team?
It was more kind of just circumstantial. I came into the fold and they brought me back into the fold. And James Russo, who was their faction manager at the time, and my buddy too, because Russo was also a part of our group that got trained and we did the backyard stuff together too. But he was more when I got there, he was like, you're going to be with us. Like, this is a thing. You're going to be in our faction. And so, the faction would kind of take turns tagging with each other. If it was, Joey and Mark, or if it was Joey and Mason that night for one tag team, then it was going to be me and Matt Nix in the next tag team or something like that. It was kind of a mixed bag. And then sometime, sometime in 2012 or 2013, we kind of got brought over to PCW, and they're no longer around anymore.
Okay.
But they were a huge Chicago company for about 20 years.
Okay.
Uh, I want to say about 20 years. Um, and we got brought in there. And again, I would have a singles match here and there, or they would put me with Mason or Joe, basically just keeping us together. And then one day, the promoter approached us. He was like, "Okay, so we want you guys to be a tag team, and we kind of want you to be like a brother thing. So could you use Marcus or Mason's name, the Conrad?" I was like, "Well, first you got to ask him, and second, yeah, I'll be Marcus Conrad if he says yes." And so, Mason agreed, and from there on, I was Marcus Conrad, no longer my shoot name.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was maybe your fate if you had to pick? What was maybe your favorite moment of being a tag team with Mason?
Winning the titles when they put the straps on us. It was, oh my God, who we were in a feud. Who do we win them? I think we won them from Noriega and Ricky Cruz, who two Galli legends. Um, and it was my first title that I had ever held. We held those for I want to say better half of a year or maybe a little longer, pretty long. But I think on and off we've been like I think we were Galli champs twice,
Okay.
and at least for a year for one of those runs. And that's probably my favorite time is tag teaming with Mason and being able to just spend time, shoot the shit whenever we were around. And we always have a good time. Even now when we tag team, it's always fun out there. And the only reason, so I eventually, I around, oh, so it wasn't even 10 years, it was like 6 years. My body started really just telling me no more. Uh, only after a little bit too. Yeah. God. And so I had to step away around 2015. But
Okay.
before that, we were going into we 2013 we broke up the tag team and had our feud together. And
Gotcha.
that's probably one of my favorite matches too. We had a last man standings match. Uh Finished, he super kicked me while I was up on the corner and I fell through a table and he put me out. So
So
that was fun.
was it like your body telling you to stop that made you step away in 2015? I think you said.
Yeah, yeah. So like I've my style has pretty much been the same. I mean, when I was younger, I did a lot more moving and doing stuff. And, when you get older, you realize less is more. And I don't need to do all this shit anymore. But when I was younger, yeah, it was go, go, go. And I also, beating my body up every match. It's not, I was like taking the bumps I was taking, hitting, getting hit as hard as you get hit. People are all different. Some guys can do that for 10 straight years and nothing happens to them. My body decided, oh no, we're going to start having an injury a year. So, or yeah, an injury a year, and then it got to about every 6 months
Okay.
in about a 2 year span. I went from, my right shoulder hurting, which still every now and then gives me problems, to, a strained knee or a sprained knee, or I pulled something, and so I got to sit out, and it all just starts adding up, and it starts getting really aggravating.
What made
On
you
top of
decide?
concussions.
Sorry. Uh, what
No,
made
you're.
you decide to come back?
Uh, so that was 2015. I stepped away. Uh, I moved to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and I was out. And while the benefit of being at Galli, and I love Carlos for this, and I will always love Carlos. Galli is always going to be my home. We got to train. Obviously, we train both America and Lucha. We have the benefit of training with the Luchas whenever we want, and coming in and dropping in and seeing how everyone's doing and training with them and rolling with the Lucha seniors. And we get that opportunity. I'm very blessed that we did. And getting trained by Discovery, who was a lucha legend all through Mexico. He was on WWE early on. He was one of the first crew that Vince brought into the WWE to, kind of get a spotlight on the Mexican style and lucha libre.
Okay.
So we would do those. What was I leading to? Oh, yeah. So Discovery trained us. And when 2020 rolled around, right before the pandemic, um, he had passed away. Or no, he hadn't. Did he pass away yet? He hadn't passed away yet. He had been diagnosed with cancer and was fighting that. So Carlos put on a benefit show. And once I got wind of it at the beginning of January 2020, I mean, I had no business getting back into a ring. I had shown up with Gary about 2 weeks prior to the show, I would show up to the ring and start rolling around, try to knock off as much rust as I can in 2 weeks. I was 260. I left in 2015 at about 210, 200, 210, and came back 260, beefed up, and a freight train, basically. I still had that energy. My body felt great. Nothing hurt anymore. I was semi taking care of myself other than gaining that weight. And I didn't look bad. It's just a lot of beef.
Yeah.
So we did that benefit show, and afterwards, you can't do that and not stay. There's no one off when you do something like that. Especially I was 30 at that time, and I was like, no, yeah, I'm gonna do this for at least 5 more years. And I've hit that 5 year mark last year, and I'm still trying to get more bookings and keep going for, I don't know, ride it till the wheels fall off, I guess.
I love it. Something that's always interested me about Galli is just the crowd, the atmosphere, the vibe of the arena, the guys that are there. How much different is Galli compared to other promotions you've worked for, if you had to try to express that in words?
In just in terms of sound effects, very
Well,
different.
yeah, I've been to one,
They,
like the
they,
rattlers, the crowd. I love it so much.
yep, they have their drums. They have oh my God, I can't remember the name. Their trumpets, the long trumpets. There's a name for them. I can't remember. And like you heard, the rattlers and stuff like while they're going. But on top of that, they are passionate. People talk about like, oh, their crowd's passionate. Like, yeah, Chicago crowds are passionate. Lucha Libre crowds are passionate in a different way. Like aren't like they aren't scared to let you know, even if like bad or good guy, like they appreciate what you're doing, but they're also gonna let you know mid-match, like, nah, you're no good. And they don't mean like, oh, you're a heel, you're no good. Like they mean like they will let you know like this is boring. Either they will meet you with silence. Yeah, either they'll meet you with silence or they will tell you straight to your face. Maybe you won't understand it, but you'll get the context.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I love performing for them. Yeah, they're one of my favorite crowds ever. And Chicago crowds in general are known. I'm not going to say they're like Philly crowds, but they're known for their passion and their love for the sport. And they, again, anywhere you go in the Chicagoland area, if they're not appreciating it, then these people aren't really wrestling fans.
100%. Was there a difference, in leaving, in 2015 and then coming back 5 or so years later in 2020? Was did you feel like the landscape had changed?
Yeah. So before I had left, I mean, I was getting really no other work other than Lucha Underground, or not Lucha Underground, Underground and Galli Lucha, because
Okay.
PCW, I can't remember. We had pretty much stopped being booked for PCW, or they had gone on hiatus. I think they had gone on hiatus for a little bit. Um, and that was pretty much the only work. But again, this is my fault. I've never been the guy to kind of reach out to other promotions. And I'm sure had I in my younger years, I would have maybe gotten booked in other places. But a lot of unfortunate side of wrestling is a lot of promoters don't want to meet you at your price, especially when you're a starving wrestler and you got to drive and travel. Like Joe has said it, and I've taken it to heart a lot. Like I never want to lose money just because I had to travel somewhere to wrestle.
Yeah.
So that was always a factor of mine too. But now, I have a big boy job. I make money. As long as I break even, I'm fine. So now I've been kind of trying to branch out, and I'll go out of my way for certain promotions that I like. Even if it's stupid simple as like the name of the promotion, or like I see the people. Obviously, for the most part, it's you see who's on the cards, and then you're like, I want to wrestle these people. But the landscape before I left, to me, it was just my body hurt and I wasn't getting anywhere, if that makes sense. I had seen the writing on the wall early. Again, like I talked about my size, like I was coming in, I was 185 pounds, 5'10", 5'11", So I knew early on I've always been a realist and pretty logical about everything I do. And when it came to WWE and seeing what was on TV, especially at the time, early 2000s and mid 2000s, I'm not getting signed. You know, I'm not, ROH doesn't want me. I don't do fucking three backflips in a row to land on somebody. I barely ever do dives. I keep my feet pretty much planted. Like, what are they going to do with me? Um, then you learn when I came back, I learned my style still didn't really change, but people appreciate it more. And I don't know exactly where the switch was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I came back in 2020, A, I had been, 29 all through 2019, I'd been, talking to Mason, talking, well, Joe was out of the picture, but talking to Mason, and he was helping run a company called Zelo with our one of our buddies, Matt McCalling, who was running the company at the time. And I'd show up every now and then, and Matt and Gary, they'd be like, "So when you getting that itch?" I'd be like, this was the time I was out, so I was like, I'm not. I'm just here to hang out, dude. I mean, yeah, obviously, watching the show, I'm like, oh, I wish I was doing this again, but at the same time, I was like, no, I don't need to. And then I made not the mistake, but I made the decision to do that.
Do the tribute show.
Oh my God. Yeah, the tribute show. And so I talked to Mason, and he was like, "Yeah, you want to, start rolling around and getting back into shape? Like, let me know. We definitely start going to the Galli ring more." At the time, he was dealing with a knee injury and just got off surgery, so he wasn't wrestling. He was just booking and doing promotion and everything for Zello and helping Matt. And so then I had to sit down with Matt too, when we were getting closer and closer to me actually getting back in the ring. And Matt actually came up with, he's like, "All right, I love it. I want you back. I need you to get a new character, come up with something else. Like, I don't want you coming back as a Conrad." And I was like, "You got it." Or at least this was from Matt through Gary or through Mason. Uh, And so I was like, okay, yeah, give me like a week. I'll come up with something. And I had been dabbling with I love the Crowley name just because of Aleister Crowley, famous occultist. He's
Okay.
very interesting. He's a piece of shit, but he's very interesting. Um, and it's just, I've always been kind of attracted to that sort of weird macabre type stuff and supernatural everything. And so I had this idea in my head at the time of kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Crowley in that show, I love that show, and I love Crowley. So that was also a big influence as to figuring out how I want to use that name. So I just came out, I was like, said just John Crowley, like, can I use Marcus Crowley? Like, uh, my buddy, uh, my buddy who passed away years ago, his last name was Ward, so it was kind of, and I've always loved his last name, so I always kind of dabbled with like, oh, maybe I'll do Marcus Ward or Crowley, Ward or Crowley, Ward or Crowley. I land on Crowley. I start writing out the name. I start writing out gimmick ideas, and what I wanted was to be kind of like a crossroads demon type thing,
Okay.
where like before even a match happens, a couple of vignettes happen where I'm kind of, shadowy figure in the background at a table or something, and like a wrestler comes and like he's like, "Listen, I want blah 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 blah. And tonight I'm having this match, but I hear you're a man that can make things happen." That type of thing where I'm sitting there kind of in the shadow and I'm kind of silhouetted, you don't really
Yeah.
see me. It wouldn't be a surprise. Nobody knew who I was anyway, so I don't really know I would have to be shadowed. But it was just a cool idea in my head, and I'm like, oh man, I like this idea. And I might be giving too much away right now. Somebody's gonna fucking steal this.
It
But
it
like I
reminds me
wanted
of
that.
Aleister Black.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is that what he was doing?
It kind
I'm
of
gonna be honest. I watch very little wrestling anymore.
fair enough. his gimmick kind of is I've heard takes inspiration from Crowley as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
big time. I mean, listen, his name, it's
yeah.
in the name. And I always just thought it was more like just a cult and like of occultists. But I never really paid too much attention. Was he making deals and stuff?
Well, he started doing like this, like before he left WWE the first time, he was doing like this Tales of the Dark Father kind of thing, where he
Okay.
was like going over this. It was like a book, and it kind of hinted that he was going to maybe face on this person or face this person, and he was like sitting in a dark room, like who's going to come walk through the door so I can fight them,
Uh,
kind of thing. So
okay.
like it's similar but not the same, but that's what it reminds me of.
Okay. Yeah, mine's a little more like more based on the supernatural kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Where like so they come make a deal with me and I'd I'd lean out of the shadow and slide a piece of paper. I'd be like, "You got it. All you gotta do is sign this.
Okay.
You know, just sign this contract. I'll get it done. Don't you worry." And the whole premise would have been like, eventually you're gonna owe me. And I'm
Okay.
not gonna tell you how. I'm not gonna tell you when. When I need it, that's when you do it, and no questions asked type of thing.
Like
But
selling your soul.
yeah, pretty much because then they'd go out, have the match, and some weird circumstance would happen and they end up winning. You know,
Okay.
was it me or was it coincidence? No one knows yet. And then so I'm sitting there spitballing this stuff, and then I'm like, do I really want to keep up that big of character? Like even in the ring, like what happens when I get in the ring? Do I have supernatural powers? Don't I? So then finally, a day comes when I'm messaging Matt, and I'm just like, look, uh, the whole reason I'm back is to have fun, and I'm in it to be me. I'm not trying to be some character. Sorry if I cuss. I don't know
You're good.
if you got
You're all
okay.
good.
Um, like I'm not trying to be someone else. I'm not trying to act. Even though wrestling's acting and you have to at some point. But um, so what I actually pitched him was just the Crowley character, more based on Stone Cold,
Okay.
where Austin goes out, drinks some beer. I like beer. I'm gonna come out with a case, or not a case, like a 6 pack or something, or have him under the ring, and after the match, I'll drink one or something like that. It's something like that. He was like, okay, so what else? What else? I was like, there's nothing, man. I was like, I'm gonna come back. I'm having fun. I'll be a powerhouse. Um, I'll heal it up for you. Whatever you need me to do, I'm gonna do it. But just know it's gonna be my way, and it's gonna be like me having fun. And I'm not trying to just get back into a just doing it just to do it type thing. And so what ended up happening was he booked me to be heel. I was gonna hold off on the beer stuff. Uh, Made my debut to a pop after they heard from Sheboygan, Wisconsin, in Milwaukee at the Turner Hall, which I love wrestling there. Um, Came out to a pop in this scrambles match, which with guys who they've seen, and they don't know who the hell I am. And that my music got a pop, and Sheboygan got a pop, an even bigger pop. And for the rest of the scramble, the crowd wouldn't let me be a heel. And I go back and I watch it now, and you see it on my face, like I got a guy in a chin lock while I'm talking shit and doing dirty things, and the crowd's just like, "Yeah, get him!" And I'm confused. I'm trying to look angry, but I'm confused, and I'm like, "Oh, well, what do I do?" So and this is where the vet in me should have kicked in, and I should have started kind of playing to that face and leaning more towards the face, but I kept trying to bulldoze through being a heel all the way to the end. And even at the end, after I won the match and the crowd was behind me, I came through the curtain after my entrance or after my exit, and Matt's standing there waiting for me. And he's like, "Well, I guess you're a face now." So that's where I started making an interest with either a six pack or I just have it under the ring. And during our match, it just became house fights. You know, I'm a big meaty guy, and he started booking me against big meaty guys, and we would just go out, have fun, brawl around. And at the end of the night, win or lose, I'm pulling that six pack out. We're sharing a beer, and we're going back. So
Nice.
that's what I like. I like just having fun now.
I love it. Um,
Yeah.
something I found really interesting, like going combing over your social medias and stuff, is you've been in tag team matches where your tag team partner was Swoggle. What's it like working with Swoggle?
Yeah, Dylan Swaggle is awesome. He's treated me with nothing but respect and kindness. I did a couple shows for them up in ACW in Oshkosh when I was still in the area. I would love to work for them again, but no, yeah, Dylan is awesome. He's funny. Uh, he shows respect, and you give respect, you get respect, and he is nothing but nice and kind to everybody that I've seen, and especially to me. He didn't have to book me. He didn't know who I was. Matt put in a word because I needed somewhere to train, to knock the rust off before my debut. So instead of coming down from Sheboygan to go to Villa Park on the weekends and get an hour or two in the ring and then go back all the way up to Sheboygan, um, he put in a good word for me with Dylan, so I could just cross over to Oshkosh in 40 minutes instead of 3 hours down here and start rolling with his kids and everything. I've met a lot of his trainees and everything. They're good kids. It's great talent. He's got a great course up there and training facility for anybody looking to train. So if you're in the Oshkosh or mid Wisconsin area or just Wisconsin area in general, it's worth it.
Definitely. Um, and once again, combing through your social medias, found out, you come back to wrestling, wrestle for a couple years, and then you get an injury. What did that feel like to kind of get the rug taken out from under you when you was maybe just catching your feet again?
Yeah, it was so even the year before my knee, it was my left knee that, I strained or pulled. And once that happened, I was like, oh no, is this starting again? Like, is this really going to start doing this again? Like, am I really going to just do the 5 years and that's it? So I've been doing everything I can, mobility stretching, changing my diet and trying to lose weight. And I was on my way, and then I blew out my right knee, actually at work during so I work in a boat yard, and I was pulling a boat in. We had the wind against us, and as I was pulling it, it just weather was shit also. So the dock was wet, and my leg just slipped out from under me, and it hurt a pop. Even my coworker at the time was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "That was my knee." So it's really discouraging, especially the recovery. Uh, we do this because we love it and we love being active. And any of us that get hurt, it takes a toll mentally. So this whole last year before coming back and during my recovery was the hardest. I've never had surgery. I've never had to have it, luckily, but this was my first one, and it put me down and it put me through a loop. Um, I didn't know if I'd actually be able to get back to it. It was coming down to the wire where I was going to be cleared, and I still couldn't even jump, and that was in February when I couldn't hop and land on my foot without my knee having excruciating pain. That's post surgery. So it's still, even in February, I still had a lot of work to do. And then something about mid March, like something just happened. I woke up one day and healing had turned a corner. So I've been very lucky these last couple months to have the weightlifting coach that I have, my buddy Will. He's Coach Will on Instagram. Also, he's great. His program was helping me out before I got injured. I was starting to shred up, and that's my goal still now. So by the end of the year, I'm hoping to have at least a 4 pack showing through. I'm not going to be super cut, but But the mobility work that he sends me to do and the workouts, the volume training over beating myself up with the powerlifting has helped a lot too. It shaped my body and shaped how I'm doing things now. But
Nice.
it's mentally draining as any injury would be. But I think for wrestlers and athletes in general, it's I'm not trying to negate anyone's injuries or what they go through with them, and like, you're used to a certain level of movement and being able to do things on your own, and when you can't, it
It's like,
kills you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
uh
So
I I get it. Whenever I was in high school, I wrestled amateur in high school. Tore
I did
my
9 years.
rotator and labrum right off the bone,
Oh,
and I wrestled like I thought I just dislocated it a couple times because
yeah,
that's what the coach told me, and the coach was like, "You're fine, just pop it back in."
yeah.
Shouldn't have
Yeah.
listened.
When did you wrestle?
20 that had to be 2016. I want to say
Okay. All right. Oh, so the
2015,
coaches still had
2016.
that mentality. Yeah, when I started fifth grade through high school, so like 1997,
Okay.
98, I started wrestling. I think that was fifth grade. I started amateur wrestling because of pro wrestling.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, I mean, the amount of ankle sprains and knee sprains I had from it, that guaranteed that didn't help my cause when I got older, especially with this knee surgery that I just had now.
It's
Because I've
wild.
had incidents where, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just wild because like I think that's just how like the at least at like the amateur level that's how the wrestling works. It's kind of just you get hurt, deal
Walk it
with
off.
it kind of thing. What tape it up, ice up,
Hmm.
move on. You're gonna be all right. You
Yep.
got till the end of the
Yep.
season, make it through it.
And you don't have,
It's insane.
yeah, you have till the end of the season. That's a couple months, not not a year. You're like, you got 2 weeks, get better. Like you got to meet in a tournament in a little bit. Like you got to stay in shape. Yeah,
Well,
I remember my ankle ended up next to my hip one time and my leg, like it was a sprain. I probably tore something, but we're made of rubber in high school. It was told, put ice on it, get on the bike.
yeah,
And I did that for the rest of training and on crutches for that week, but by the weekend, off the crutches and trying to do it and trying to shoot and do single legs.
100%.
Made
I
of
get it.
rubber at that age.
Well, I
Hmm.
remember for me it was we did it. I did it practice. I found out I dislocated my shoulder 6 times in one
Oh my
practice.
God.
Kept popping it back in. And it was to the point where I could just move it and pop it in and out. Um,
Oh, that's what
I
I can
didn't.
do now.
I didn't.
Hold on.
I hear it.
No, it's not going yet. I moved
No,
something. No, it's not doing it. But usually you can see the pop.
the it pop in and out. Yeah, you could see it was real. It was
Yeah,
nasty.
usually
But
oh yeah.
they let me go to 2 meets. The first one I was fine. It was sore. I taped it up. I was cool. The next one, because it was like a dual meet, so it was back to back. The next match I had about halfway
Hmm.
through, the coach told me to go down. So I was in the position and I couldn't put any weight on my shoulder. The kid chopped me, and the ref saw something was wrong immediately and stopped it. Like they
Yeah.
had me go to the trainer. They couldn't pop it back in, and my dad was pissed. And lo and behold,
Oh yeah.
I tore
I mean,
it,
that's not your fault.
everything. It
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's gotta be something. Oh,
was tough. And then I
oh,
tried to
God.
wrestle next year, and I couldn't. Like, so
Yeah.
I still deal with it to this day. It's not fixed. It probably will never be right. That's what I've been told. But
Right.
it's just one of those things. I think it's the amateur wrestling mentality though that hopefully now is fixed. I don't know what it looks like now because obviously I'm not in
Hmm.
school anymore, but hopefully kids aren't going through that no more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think they've put in a lot of rules and regulations, especially when we would dehydrate ourselves to try to make weight for certain things. Like
the
I think there's a lot of no-nos now
the
that they're
trash
not
bags
putting
and
out.
sauna suits.
Yep.
um I had a question that blanked. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Um, something fun I always try to ask on here is if you had a dream match, who would that dream match be? Who are you looking to tangle up with possibly before you hang up the boots?
Honestly, I mean, I don't. So I was just in a match with Gravity last 2 weekends ago.
Okay.
It was a four-way with with Torero, Gravity, and Bandolero. And Gravity at the end of the match grabbed the mic. This is all to shoot, and he requested a one-on-one, me and him. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, Carlos gets that booked sooner than later if he can. Um, definitely, I definitely want that match. It's an honor for him to even grab the mic and do that. He didn't have to do that. It was totally. I had no idea it was. I was supposed to grab the mic and set a challenge for to get my belt back because I had to drop. I had to drop my Discovery title before I left. So it was definitely a very happy surprise that he had done that for me. Um, but right now, other than that, in facing Greg one, it's more I want to wrestle the kids at Galli. I want Maurice. I want I can't remember Grayson, who's actually down with an injury right now too.
Eddie Grayson.
I would love to wrestle him. Yeah, I would love to wrestle him. Just the younger guys. I want to wrestle the younger guys and just, I mean, have them put me to the test, not the other way around. Because I'm not as fast as they are anymore. Even it looks like it, but they're so much quicker and so much more athletic, and I
You
want to be a part of that.
with that said, when you look at even the championship scene right now within Galley, with guys like Hans, Quintero, Axel Rico, Septico, Magico, those guys, all those guys, young, bright futures, incredible in the ring. I guarantee you could tear it up with any of those guys. Do you have your eyes set on any of them names or any of them titles, maybe?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to get in the ring with all of them, one on one or a tag team. Um, they're all right now in kind of tag format. So I think the fastest way for me to do that is to be thrown into some kind of 6 man or something like that and step in there with all of them. That would be a lot of fun. I'd love that. Um, I have, I've like I had mentioned before, there's a lot of people go out of their way to shit on people and or like don't want to help anybody or go out of the way to help them. But if anybody ever asks me for help or to sit and watch their shows, like I try to be a guy where I can help and I will if I can. Like if I don't think I have the right answer for you, I will divert you to someone else because my answer is probably just going to be dog shit. But at this point, they are all stepping their levels up so fast and so perfectly that I think at some point half the roster is probably going to go off and get signed at some point.
Definitely, definitely. Couldn't disagree. I mean, couldn't agree more. Is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, just as somebody who's had a privilege to talk to plenty of them, and more on the way, to be announced. But Galley has one of those rosters that even when you take out the equation of all the Lucha Libre stars that are brought in, the roster stacked. So I'd put
Mm-hmm.
the Galley roster up against just about any other roster, and they're gonna exceed expectations just about every single time, without a doubt.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of great talent Carlos brings in, or a lot of great talent that just in general. I mean, he doesn't have to bring them in because they've been there for as long as they've been training.
Yes,
Um, and that's a good credit to the training they are receiving from the luchas. Me, Gary. Hey, yeah. Hold on one second.
you're good.
Sorry about that.
You're all good, man.
uh, lay down. I just found out my son locked me in the basement. So,
Oh boy.
yeah, it's all right. I'll have to wake somebody up. Um, no, what was I talking about? Lay down.
Uh, just the training that the luchadors do for the young talent.
Yeah. So they're all very receptive to their training. They learn very quickly. Um, and yeah, any questions that they have, we try to answer, or again, try to divert them to somebody that would be able to answer better. Uh, but after 18 years, I think we've got I got a pretty good eye for when I'm watching them train and I see something like I might not be able to practice it myself, certain moves, but I see something and they hear it and they don't have like a bad reaction to when I tell them like, hey, try to correct this. This is what I'm seeing. They have very good attitudes when it comes to corrections and listening and criticisms and everything. And that's another, I mean, there's a lot of locker rooms right now that I've been in where people don't even like being critiqued, but that's not the way to go about it. You gotta be open minded and you gotta surround yourself with people that are not gonna bullshit you.
Definitely. Um, I know you kind of answered this question a little bit earlier, but just to maybe touch up on it a little bit, you know, goals for the year are always so important. I know one of them for you is to maybe cut up, get in a little bit better shape. Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
other goals, maybe inside the ring achievements that you want to uh, get to before the end of 2025?
More wrestling, just more wrestling for other companies. I want to travel a little more.
Okay.
I've already got. I was actually just sent a whole year booking for Brew City, so I'll be at BC. Yeah, I'll be at Brew City Champ or Bruce. Oh my God, why am I messing this up? I'll be at Brew City Wrestling in Waukesha almost every month until the end of the year, even January. So I've
Okay.
got that going for me now. I've reached out to a couple other promotions, and I'm just waiting back to hear. And yeah, I'm doing a little more reaching this next year or so to see exactly how much farther I can branch out and push myself.
Nice.
How far I push myself, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, I just want to say thank you once again for coming on the podcast. It was an absolute blast. I'm gonna leave the door
Well,
open. If you
thank
ever
you.
want to come back on, I'd love to have you for a part two.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you deem it fit to have me back, I absolutely would love it.
Sounds good.
Thank you for asking. Thank you for reaching out.
Of course. Before we go, you want to shout out your social medias one more time, just in case they missed it at the beginning?
Yeah, Big Jon Crowley on Instagram and YouTube. Same thing, Big Jon Crowley.
Perfect.
And that's
Uh,
it.
Sounds good, man. I will leave this off at see you next time then.
Cool. Thank you.